And welcome back to Your Town on News Talk 1110 KBND. I'm Dave Jarvis, along with my co-host Donna James. Our guest today is Bend City Manager Eric King, and the phone lines are open at 585-3542 if you've got questions that you would like to ask. We are talking a little bit about the city budget. Undoubtedly an incredibly challenging time, what with the state of the economy. And Mayor Kathy Ekman earlier indicated that the city was going to give some more priority to having rainy day funds for each department to be a little bit better prepared for economic downturns like the one we're in. How is the city going to find money to put in the rainy day funds right now? Is it possible?
It is, and in fact, that is a priority. In fact, this last budget cycle, we put $500,000 into a revenue stabilization fund to help us to start building. It's not a lot. I mean, given the city's operations, and the city has an annual budget of over revenue that we receive is over $100 million. So it's not a lot, but it's a start. And so we're doing everything we can to keep building up reserves. And that's really our plan. As we just completed a long-term financial forecast that looked out over the next 5 years. Built into that plan is slowly adding back to our reserves.
And what is the criteria going to be for tapping into those rainy day funds? We look back at the 2009 legislature. Right. They had some rainy day funds available to them and chose not to use them. Instead, chose to hike taxes. Is there going to be a trigger set to automatically ignite those?
Yeah, what we have, we've actually just established some financial policies, and in those policies it says that council must declare kind of an emergency. They must sort of say, well, we're in it's prolonged economic downturn. I mean, we don't want to use that rainy day fund just to sort of patch us over for, a couple months here and there. It's really for something unexpected, natural disaster, et cetera, that could occur. So we want to be restrictive about how we can use that. I couldn't sort of comment on whether or not it would be similar to the state situation, but definitely and we have reserves. I just want to make the point that we've got reserves already. It's not like we've never had reserves. This is a new fund. It really does function more like a rainy day fund, that it's a little bit harder to tap into those reserves.
As I was looking and listening to you talk about all the things going on, I wondered, ultimately, I think that just as a citizen, people are asking, how is this going to affect me ultimately? All of these numbers, some of these issues seem very complicated. So if we could just kind of just grassroot that a minute, what about services to people in the community? Have you seen a decrease in that? And where is that going with layoffs and that sort of thing?
We've really tried hard to minimize any service reduction to the community throughout all these budget reductions. That's been, but we've gone to the point where we've reduced the budget, and now there is a point where their citizens might see some level of reduction in their service. And we've had, for example, streets. We've had quite a bit of budget reductions in our street maintenance budget. So this past summer, you might have seen just the medians and roundabouts, we weren't able to take care of those as much as we had been in the past. Fortunately, citizens really stepped up in a volunteer effort, and we formed what's called a Bend Beautification Program, and we had over 700 volunteers this summer get out and pull weeds and really help make this community more beautiful. We're doing that actually even through the winter too. We're getting volunteers to help shovel snow, et cetera. So it's a year-round program that folks that can volunteer. It helps save our budget. And it also helps to get folks more vested in their community.
Well, let's talk streets and infrastructure for a moment. It is the nature of roadways. When you live in an area like Bend, where it gets really warm in the summer and then when it gets really cold in the winter, expand, contract, basic physics lesson, you're going to end up with cracks in the roadway that will eventually become potholes. So how are the general conditions of the road in Bend? What about pothole patching?
Yeah, we've had all this growth, and so we have a lot of new roads. So our roads are in okay condition right now, but we do have $13 million in deferred maintenance of our roads. And we are because the street maintenance budget is dependent on the general fund. It also gets some money from the state. The state passes down some money through its gas tax and title and registration fees. But we do have some concerns with our street maintenance budget and the condition of our roads. We're not keeping pace with the repairs that need to be made. So it's more of a patching the potholes, the safety concerns. We are able to do less, repaving overlays of our streets given our budget situation.
The number to call, 585-3542, if you would like to ask a question of our Bend City Manager, Eric King, here on Your Town at 1110 KBND. As I was looking, I have a question too, unless if you've got one. The Juniper utility system that you had sort of inherited, how is that, those water rates, are they going to affect Bend citizens, their water rates to kind of help compensate for that?
Yeah, the former utility system was condemned by the city back in early 2003, 2004, and we are trying to repair that system. We inherited it somewhat in disrepair, and so there was a settlement agreement with the homeowners associations within that area. And as part of that agreement, they agreed to pay for some of the needed repairs. So we wouldn't spread those across the entire city, but really kind of localize those. And so there have been some recent rate increases to that area. On average, the city of Bend resident has seen increases in their rates too, because of some of the infrastructure upgrades that we need, $7 to $9 a month in their utility bills. For the Juniper utility area, their rates have increased more like $9 to $10 a month, a little bit higher because of the state of that system and the repairs that need to be made to bring it up to standard.
All right, thank you. And with that, it's break time. We'll be back in a moment visiting with Bend City Manager Eric King. If you've got questions that you would like to ask, a few more minutes to get those in, 585-3542, or you can email them to talk@kbnd.com.